Important, yes.
Okay, we're here, we're live, we're having a nice day on Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's Energy Day. Hawaii, the state of clean energy, with the Energy Policy Forum. That's the people who make this happen. And we're here on ThinkTech Talks, talking about energy today with Carl Campagna, who is Vice President, Renewable Energy and Construction Group of Kamaka Green, and he's also involved in the Democratic Party caucus on environment, energy. And environment is the caucus, and he's the chair of the committee on energy and climate change.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, we're going to talk about that too.
Okay.
All right, so Carl, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Do you feel patient today? Could you let us talk to Lily Koo for a little while?
Please.
And we're going to talk to her about the negawatt moment, because she's from Hawaii Energy with Rob DeVerterra sitting, DeVerterra, I got it, sitting behind her. And you know, we need to hear from them, because they also make this show happen, and because they also have really interesting and valuable points on making energy efficiency for everybody. Lily, what do you got today?
Thank you, Jay. Well, today, just to let you guys know that Hawaii Energy is the ratepayer-funded energy conservation and efficiency program serving
Carl, did you
all
know that?
islands
I did know that.
except Kauai.
He knew that already. Okay, next.
And the negawatt moment, I'm going to bring you to Waikiki area, which is my favorite destination. And we're going to talk about, today we're going to talk about Hawaii Prince Hotel, which is one of the most progressive hotel, as they are constantly doing a lot of projects. And the most recent projects they've been doing is a major air conditioning upgrade. And what they did was to install 3 500-ton energy efficiency chillers. And the system provides cooling and comfort for the entire hotels, 541 guest rooms, and on all 28 floors, including the lobby, gift shops, restaurants, and banquet facilities.
Well, it's great that you should talk about this, you know. You know why I say that? Because it's news. And, you know, ThinkTech likes news. We like news about energy on the Energy Show. Mm-hmm. Good job, Rob. We want to know what's going on. But question is, what's special about the Prince Hotel?
What's special is, especially on this project, the benefit for the project is when sizing the chiller correctly, instead of turning all 3 chillers 24 hours on a daily basis, and now they only need to turn on 1 chiller that operates 24, and the second chiller only runs during the hotter months, and the 3rd chiller is only on standby.
So how do you have that happen? Is some fellow would stand around and turn them on and off all day?
Basically, you know, they're all connecting to, you know, computerized system, and making sure that...
It's a computer.
Yes. At the same time, you know, all these chillers are, you know, high technology, and they have, you know, a crew of really, you know, advanced crew that basically managing the system.
So where did the system come from? Is this American, or was it designed somewhere else?
They are
How
from,
did it get installed?
they actually, the brand is actually from York. Yes. And
York?
Yes. The brand
is that an American company?
York is the brand, the make and model. York is the make and model.
They're a manufacturer.
Yes. So basically, they're more energy efficient, and at the same time, they have done I would say the contractor has done a low profile for the chiller, so that it basically optimized the chiller and making sure that it's sized out correctly for the hotel.
So is this new technology, Lily?
It's not new technology. It's just that a lot of the buildings out there, they try to, you know, let's say replace their old chillers, and they only replace it like for like. You know, let's say 500 tons, and they replace another 500 tons, but they don't size it out correctly. So, and that becomes inefficient.
So this is sized up, but it's also controlled to be maximum efficient by a computer. And that sounds like a process that any hotel, or for that matter, any commercial or industrial building could use for air conditioning. So how prevalent is this kind of technology in Honolulu? Is this a first-time deal?
No, a lot of commercial buildings have been doing it, as well as hotels. It's just that they're not aware of Hawaii Energy's incentives for this type of project.
Now we're getting to the payload. Let's talk about the incentive on this.
The incentives for this is 150,000 cash incentives, and at the same time, they are actually, according to the hotel, they will save an estimated $288,000 in energy costs per year.
Per year?
Yes.
That's enormous.
Yes. So
what a deal. How could I say no? Did Prince Hotel rely on this deal in order to go ahead with this new design?
I would say the Hawaii Prince is constantly engaged with us in terms of all different types of rebates that we give out. So every time when they're doing a project, they would always make sure to contact us and say, hey, how much incentives that you guys can offset the cost of the project. So they would constantly, be in touch with us to make sure that they take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, on 100,000 plus that's a meaningful incentive. However, the total cost of this installation must have been way more than that. Can you tell us what it was?
The total cost for them is 1.8 million.
Yeah.
So basically the simple payback is about 6 years. So
Yeah.
which is still a very good deal.
Still very good. But this might be the straw that pushed them in this direction, and that's your whole purpose, isn't it? To get people to do, including businesses and hotels, to get to do this sort of thing.
Yes, definitely. And we have just launched new incentives a couple of months ago, and I'm hoping that I can also entice some of the smaller hotels out there who have not been taking advantage of our program to take advantage of it.
That's great. So you can tell them, the smaller hotels, I absolutely agree. That's a great target for efficiency, smaller hotels. You can tell them what happened at the Hawaii Prince, and you can tell them not only that, you can tell them you came on ThinkTech Hawaii, the state of clean energy, and talked about this. That's important.
Yes,
also.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask Carl if he has any cross-examination questions he wants to put to you about this.
Sure.
Carl?
Not immediately questions, but just to touch on a bit of some of what you were saying. Not every facility or not every condominium or hotel could make use of a high efficiency chiller. It's based on what their current systems are and what their load demands are for that, and that's what the assessment does. That's what the engineers come in and do. Sometimes it is equally beneficial, instead of going to a high efficiency chiller, you shift to variable frequency drives, which can also accomplish some of the same goals. It depends on, again, the load and the demand. So would you agree with that? And
I totally agree with that.
And in addition, would you have incentives that go along with both options?
Definitely, most definitely. We give out incentives for different types of pumps and as well as air handling units, the motors. So definitely check with us at hawaiienergy.com or you can contact us at 839-8880 and for any questions.
Rob, I think Lily did a great job. That's Rob DeVerterra. I'll get this. DeVerterra. Yeah. And Lily Koo, thank you so much from Hawaii Energy. We really like you guys having, come on here and talk about these things, and we like to be able to ask you questions and elicit that much more information.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, we're going to move on to the substance of our show, or at least the main attraction of our show is Carl Campagna. Carl, who are you and how did you get in the room?
Someone left the door open, and that's how I got in the room, certainly. No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for allowing me to come as well. I appreciate the opportunity to talk. I definitely appreciate the work that Hawaii Energy does. They do a lot in helping out the community and helping out individuals and businesses and so forth. So they're a great group, and I enjoy working with them when possible.
You sound very knowledgeable about this.
I have some knowledge. I'm not going to say that I am an expert in very many things. But
there may be people who disagree with that, but you go right ahead.
It's all good. That's fine. That's fine.
So what are you doing these days with your life, actually?
Sure. A few different things. It all starts with our business, Kamaka Green. My wife and I run our business, and what we do is energy and environmental consulting, primarily. So we don't tie ourselves only to photovoltaics. we can also incorporate solar thermal. I've worked on concentrated solar power.
So you're agnostic.
Yes.
It's always green.
It's always green. When it comes to energy, it's always green. There are some cases where we're looking at even, okay, in what way are we interested in being involved in the liquid natural gas transition that's happening? And do we agree philosophically that that is a good approach? And do we want to make the choice for Kamaka Green if there was opportunity for us to be involved? Is that something we would want to be involved in?
So I'm a property owner, business owner, government official, an academic even, you know, dealing with university property. And I come to you and I say, Carl, I need advice, I need consultation. And that's when you shine. You're
Yes.
going to evaluate my needs, you're going to evaluate what the options are, you're going to steer me, you know, in the right way.
Absolutely.
And then I got to go out and do it. Or you might help me do it.
I will also help. It
You'll
all it
arrange
depends on
the
what's wanted.
contracts and all.
Absolutely.
But you're not going
Absolutely.
to actually do it yourself, right?
Not myself, no. What I've worked with, dozens of contractors across the state, multiple islands. Depends on what the project is, where they need the work. Some companies exist on multiple islands, so we're able to help them in multiple facilities where possible. So yes, I get brought in at various phases, sometimes at the beginning to help discover what the possibilities are, to do a feasibility study, to make sure that, okay, this is the best approach or not. Or, you know what, you don't have the right conditions to do windmills here, so maybe instead we take a look at different opportunities.
How did you get into this? What was your training or experience that led you to this path?
I have over 20 years experience in engineering design and construction project management. So that's the basis that I really come to the table with. From there, moving here in 2008 with my wife.
That was the same year as the Clean Energy Initiative.
Yes, it was.
It was a really important year.
I was very fortunate to arrive.
Perfect timing.
It was towards the end of 2008 is when I got here, and I was really afforded the opportunity to work on one of the state's very interesting and at the time very important projects doing micro-concentrated solar power. So I was asked, given my construction background.
Sounds like Darren Kimura.
That does sound like Darren Kimura. That was.
I remember them.
Yes.
I'm one of the people that remember.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. So
They're not in the business anymore.
No, they're not. But it was a fascinating project. I was lucky enough to be brought in a new technology environment.
It was very exciting those days.
It was very exciting. The opportunity of that was really amazing, and it was really something that was able to bring a lot of attention to opportunity. And I think that was the biggest key, the most important thing, and what we can always thank Darren Kimura for is bringing an opportunity, a positive opportunity.
He's definitely a leader. He's
Yes.
still involved in energy as well.
Absolutely.
Efficiency, actually, I think
Yes.
it is. Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, what strikes me, though, is that I'm trying to think of other energy consultants that I know, and I can't say that anybody comes to mind. At the same time, I'm trying to think of all the mistakes you could make if you don't get a consultant and go down the wrong path. You know, fact is, it's a minefield out there. You could make a mistake. You better talk to somebody, or you won't save as much as you might otherwise save.
Exactly.
And you won't have as much efficiency in production as you might otherwise have.
That is exactly true.
And the other thing is, it's a moving target. So, you know, you could believe correctly that this solution works today, but if you don't keep your eye on the future, you're in a bunny trail. You're down a dead end.
But therein lies one of the problems we have, and that is everyone's waiting for that next technology because, oh, this is good, but there might be something better coming, so I'm going to wait. Well, we can only wait so long.
It's like buying a computer, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Well, in some ways, it's like buying a computer. But when you buy a computer, you know, 18 months later, you're going to have a new one that's going to be better. That can be true, but in the meantime, you didn't lose hundreds of thousands of dollars possibly in the meantime, waiting for it. And what's more, there's not a tax incentive that has a sunset date in any capacity that is pending your computer purchase.
Too expensive.
Am I expensive? No. No, in fact, actually, in most cases, the off-taker or the facility, whether it's a church or we've worked with AOAOs, we've worked with a number of different facilities, medical facilities, hospitals, and so forth. They're not the ones who pay me. the ones who pay me in the end, it comes down to what the program is. I'll sit down and I can be contracted to help and do a feasibility study. I can help generate RFPs, and I can help oversee and manage what that process is, help select the contractors that are really submit on those RFPs to make sure that, okay, this is who we're getting and why we're getting them. These are the choices that we have, and help them make those choices. Certainly.
How do you get paid?
I would get paid, well, if I were contracted to do that, it's possible that I would be paid by that facility at that point to do that phase of it. It's also possible that my fee could be rolled into what the fee is for the actual work to be done, whether they're using capital improvement funds for that or whether they're using third-party financing for that, which I can also bring to the table from multiple sources if needed.
It's sort of like a stockbroker. You know, you can have a stockbroker who makes a commission on the stock that he's selling you, or you can have a stockbroker who makes a commission on the whole pot, and he's not necessarily motivated by any particular stock, only by doing good work for the whole pot.
And that would be correct.
That would be you.
I don't consider myself a broker as much as I consider myself a facilitator.
Okay, fair enough. let's take a moment and cogitate on that.
Sure.
Carl Campagna, and he is with, among other things, Renewable Energy and Construction Group and Kamaka Green. Okay, and this is ThinkTech Talks. I'm talking about Hawaii, the state of clean energy here on Wednesday, and we're talking about can we grow a sustainable clean energy industry in Hawaii. We're going to get to that. I am so excited about that discussion. We'll be right back.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're live here on ThinkTech Talks, talking about Hawaii, the state of clean energy. What else could it be? And we're talking about can we grow a sustainable industry and a clean energy industry in Hawaii. We're going to talk about the pros and the cons, and the flavor of that question, what it assumes, what it implies, with Carl Campagna, who is he's a consultant with Renewable Energy and Construction Group, Kamaka Green. Okay, but let's go to something I can't resist asking you about, Carl. You are, as I mentioned earlier, the chair of the Energy and Climate Change Committee within the Environmental Caucus of the Democratic Party, which has a fair amount of say in this state. Not total, and maybe the public, will learn to resist what the caucus concludes, maybe who knows what. But I'd like to know how that works. How does the caucus work, and how do you work within the caucus?
Sure. Okay. For starters, you're correct. I'm the chair of the Energy and Climate Change Committee. There are 3 committees. There's the one that I am the chair of. We also have the Food and Agriculture Committee, and then we also have the Natural Resources Committee. Those other 2 committees are headed up by 2 other excellent people as well. And then the overall caucus is currently chaired by Juanita Kamamoto.
Yes, she's been here sitting in that seat.
Yes, and she's wonderful. I appreciate her every day for what she does and how she does it, what she allows and affords me with regards to what I'm trying to do and how I do it.
So this is like, the caucus is like a policy group within the party, and there are lots of policy groups, right?
Sure.
On various issues that might come up, in the context of elections or statement of policy in general by the party. For anyone who is concerned what the party thinks about a given issue, they could find out what the caucus on that issue has said. And so you probably have a website or paper that you generate, and I can go look at it and see what your policy points are. Is that right?
Yes. You can go to the Environmental Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii website, and there's information there. We also have blogs, and we have a variety of other ways that we express our thoughts and what our general membership is interested in and what we believe in. So you can certainly go through those sources as well. Various Facebook pages as well exist with information that is shared. But what we
So
do,
it's a conversation.
I'm sorry?
It's a conversation.
It is a conversation.
It's transparent.
It is.
I can see what people are feeding into the
Absolutely.
caucus.
Absolutely. In fact, our goal is that transparency by the means of outreach and education, as well as putting together whatever legislative package we might be able to be lucky enough to pull some thoughts together for.
So, and do you let Republicans in on the website? Can they actually come and visit the website?
They are welcome to comment. Anybody is welcome to comment. Whether, obviously, on Facebook, you're welcome to comment. In any one of the scenarios that we've got, anyone is welcome to comment on whatever they would like.
Do they have to say what their political orientation is?
Not necessarily. I don't. In many cases, it's anonymous. When someone just submits something, perhaps you see their name.
So you don't have to be a member of the party.
To comment, not necessarily. If you want to be engaged and you want to be active, part of what the caucus does,
Come
yes.
to the meetings and speak at the
Yes, to
meetings.
come to the meetings and to be a member of it, yes, you must be a member of the Democratic Party.
So if I'm a member of the caucus, now the party, I guess, and the caucus, and I come to a meeting, how often is that, and what happens at the meeting?
It depends on what you're looking for. We have general membership meetings every 2 months. We have executive meetings that I think are also every 2 months. And then in addition to that, we have each of our individual committee meetings. And then each of us has our own opportunity to have as many or as few meetings as we like underneath that. So for our Energy and Climate Change Committee, we've already had somewhere near 6 different meetings just since the convention. So
The convention was what, like 3 months
the
ago?
convention was in May.
May.
So we pull together people that are interested, that want to be involved, and we just reach out to whomever we can and open the doors for that conversation. It is the goal, and this is, Juanita's very happy about this goal as well, that we are as collaborative as possible. We want to open the doors to you. We want to open the doors to a Blue Planet Foundation, to Surfrider, to NOAA, to HNEI, to everybody across the board and say, hey, we have some ideas. We have some thoughts. I know that you have some thoughts. I know that there are many groups out there at the moment who are generating ideas for bills, putting events together, trying to bring awareness to very important environmental issues.
You're operating on public education, but also affirmative action with platforms and bills.
Correct.
So let me talk about a bill for a minute. Any bill. Let's make up a bill.
Okay.
Carbon tax bill. Okay.
Okay.
That would be in your
Sure.
pay grade. So you decide you want to suggest to the legislature that there be a carbon tax here.
Sure.
That would be, of interest. Okay, then what happens? Does that go to the convention, or does that go directly from the caucus into the hands of a legislative official for him to introduce?
Sure. It'll start, before you get there, it actually starts with the work that we do in the committee, pulling the ideas together and reaching out to all the groups I mentioned. And then from there, running it through the Environmental Caucus membership, making sure that they agree as well with the direction that we're going. And then once we get to an agreement on what we're doing there, then we take it to the State Central Committee and make sure that the party agrees with what we're doing and how we're doing
The
it.
Central
and what the
Committee
message
can
is.
speak for the party.
Exactly, exactly. And then once we have gone through that, then we say, great, now we have a package of things that we want to bring to the legislature. And then at that point, we ask very politely to Senator Gabbard, to Representative Chris Lee, may we offer our package to you for consideration?
Okay, now when that package gets admitted, it'll say this is from the Democratic Caucus on Environment and also the Subcommittee on Energy and Climate Change. Will it say that?
Yes, they will. Yes,
So it
they
gives it special credibility that it came from, such an austere organization. Yeah?
I'll allow that austere organization opinion to exist out in the world. What I know is we're doing what we can, and we're trying to bring it to them for consideration, in hopes that we can either have some bills crafted that are not currently there, or making sure that it's clear that as a caucus we are supporting bills that are currently active or are carryover from last year.
Okay, so even if you're not actually submitting the bill in this year, you might decide and recommend and take all that action with the Central Committee that you want to support or oppose a bill in your area.
Exactly.
Now, you go lobby them too? Do you go testify? You
We can
talk to Mike
testify.
Gabbard and Chris Lee about it and say yes or no or whatever?
As much as they are interested, as much as they allow, and as much as the rules allow in that realm, yes. We certainly do the best we can to make our points clear. We ask for audience, and whenever it is afforded to us, we appreciate it. And then whatever happens, happens. And then we make sure that everybody understands from top to bottom, well, this is what we tried to achieve, this is what we actually achieved. We don't know what the problems were with it, whether it was a problem or who knows what the situation was that something didn't occur or did occur. Well, okay, now let's take a look at it for next year. And let's make sure that we get more education and outreach out to people so they understand more about this issue, so that maybe we can have a better, what we would consider a better result anyway.
So we learned earlier that this the Environmental Caucus is one of a number of caucuses, but where does it fit in the solar system of caucuses? I mean, I would imagine, for example, that there's an educational caucus. I mean, about education. That's a pretty heavy one.
yeah,
There's a lot of issues on that, and so forth.
for-
Where do you fit?
We're one of the many. And I don't want to begin to suggest that any one is more important than the other. I think they're all important because all of them have very important issues that they're trying to tackle, and they're trying to absorb, and they're trying to communicate. And whether it's the Labor Caucus or Native Hawaiian Affairs Caucus, across the board, they all have something necessary important. Whether it's the GLBT Caucus, they all have something necessary and important that needs to be communicated. Because we are not one issue people. We don't live our lives one issue at a time. We live our lives with a realm of issues that affect us directly or indirectly, but they all affect us.
There are some people out there that don't really get that.
I've been made aware that there are some people that don't get that. I don't necessarily.
So what happens if I come to your committee or I'm a member either way and I say, no, Carl, bad idea. Carbon tax, forget about it, bad idea. What happens to me? I mean, am I outvoted? I mean, is there a vote? And what can I do if the vote runs against me?
It's the same thing that we all do when our ideas are not successful in the effort that we're trying. You say, okay, what can I do to make my argument better? You try to figure out what you can do to help be more convincing next time around. So, so to get to the first part of your question, if someone brings an idea, I put it on my list. And I say, okay, great, it's on my list. I have an outline, I've been putting it together, it'll fit roughly within here. I'm not saying at the moment whether I agree or disagree. Here it is. It's something worth discussing and something we will bring through the channels and to see whether it is something that we can get behind in one way or another and take it from there. So from a chair's perspective, I'm not trying to decide good, bad. I'm trying to say, great, we have accepted in the ideas. We're bringing them in, we're going to assess them all, and we're going to bring them through all the various channels of authority to make sure that it can be
With
heard.
votes. I mean, you make decisions on these issues, right?
Ultimately, decisions are made, and yes, and there are votes that can be held and that are held at various levels of this process. And then if it gets voted on and approved, then great, it becomes part of what we're doing. If it does not get approved, then what we say is, well, like I said, what did we miss? Did we miss something? What do we have to do to strengthen our argument so we can bring it back again? Because
Okay.
that's also what the whole thing is all about.
Okay, you probably like this. It all sounds pretty good, but I do have a couple of questions
Sure.
to follow up after this break, and then we want to get to the principal question of can we grow a sustainable industry
Sounds great.
In clean energy. But first, a short break. This is Carl Campagna, and he's a consultant in energy for several years, and he is with Renewable Energy Construction Group, Kamaka Green. This is Hawaii State of Clean Energy. I'm Jay Fidell here on ThinkTech Talks. And when we come back, we'll hear just a little more about the Environmental Caucus and the committee called Energy and Climate Change in the Democratic Party. Be right back.
Hello, I'm Martin Despang, and I'm the host together with the one and only Ali Yamashita, and our show is called Urban Transcendence. And Urban Transcendence is about identifying where we have a unique situation of a vibrant city in one of the most beautiful natural environments. So how these two can coincide, sometimes conflict, how they could find reciprocity in the 21st century is what we're excited about. And we're planning on bringing in a diverse body of guests, both from the arts and the science and the established and the wise and the emerging generation. So hope you will join us. We'll always be on Thursdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, we're back. We're live. I'm Jay Fidell here on ThinkTech Talks on Wednesday, and you know that means Hawaii, the state of clean energy, with Carl Campagna, who is a clean energy consultant and also the chair of the Energy and Climate Change Committee of the Environmental Caucus, Democratic Party. Just a couple of other things on that.
Sure.
So when the Democratic Caucus meets, when your committee meets, do you go out affirmatively and seek expert opinion? I mean, you can provide some yourself for sure. But for example, if you're looking at liquid natural gas, there's a lot of issues around that. If you want to take a position on that, maybe there's some people you should call, a gas company, for example. You know, do you make that, do you cross the street and do that? Or do you wait for them to come to you?
We try. We reach out to everybody, and obviously not everybody always wants to reach back. Not everybody always wants to answer everyone's question, and that's fine. But our goal, our objective is collaboration with all stakeholders, with all people within the industry, with all educators, with all organizations and agencies that are feasible. So we reach out to HREA, to HSEA, we reach out to Sierra Club, to, as I mentioned, HNEI, Hawaii Green Growth Initiative. We reach out across the board
Energy
to
Policy
everyone.
Forum?
Energy Policy Forum. I asked to have a seat at the table there, but as I'm part of the Democratic Party, Energy Policy Forum is, so therefore I get to exist on the outside, and that's also completely fine. So we reach out to everyone, and we say, here's some of our ideas. Please give us feedback. Please give us feedback so that we can be collaborative, so that we can be on the same page. Mm-hmm. That's our goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the last part of my inquiry about this, the caucus, is this. Can you give us, here on ThinkTech on a given Wednesday, what's today? The 20th.
20th.
Okay. Of August. Can you give us some idea about what the caucus is going to recommend? What's under consideration? And if anything, what is agreed? What can we expect will come out on energy?
At the moment, I'll start by saying we have not run all of our ideas through all of the channels to say positively this is what the Environmental Caucus is going to support. So I cannot say definitively that anything at this point is in full support of the caucus and the caucus members. What I can say is we are obviously looking at sea level rise and the impacts of sea level rise from various conservation and preservation concerns, various shoreline and reef management concerns. We're exploring those, looking into those, and seeing where there are necessary or needed, whether it's policy or just outreach and education on. So we're exploring those areas. In addition, we're exploring areas with regards to energy policy, given where we are at the moment. We're all waiting with bated breath what the utility is going to come back with on the 26th in just 6 days on what their new plan is going to be for our future.
Yeah.
As overwhelmed or underwhelmed as we will all be, we'll find out, but we're all waiting. But that is one of the key linchpins for what we're going to be doing going forward.
So we're at least 6 days early on this.
We're 6 days early on this, on what they have to say.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that what they have to say is the end of the question.
No, but you need to know what it is before you can look at the whole landscape.
And what I will point you to is the PUC has come up with their inclinations. And I think that the PUC's inclinations are spot on with how we need to perceive our direction forward and how we need to consider our direction forward. And I think that's
The inclinations in their orders that they entered back a couple months ago.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I think that that's where we need to look in that regard. And that includes how are we maximizing our renewable energy integration? How are we addressing the grid scenarios? What grid scenarios are we actually pursuing, first of all? Is the utility pursuing? I say we. What is the utility pursuing? And is that the right course? Well, who's to decide that? Well, I think somewhere between what the PUC is suggesting and what they're going to do and what many of us within the industry believe has been needed for years, we say, okay, welcome to the party. It's about time
So-
that we do this stuff.
It's fair to say then that the caucus and your committee will be speaking about those issues. You don't know exactly what you're going to say yet, but this whole, interaction between the PUC and the utility, you will be speaking about it in one way or another.
I will be speaking as much as people will listen. I will spepe.
Okay.
And
now you
testimony
made
as
an
well.
oblique reference earlier to liquid natural gas,
Yeah.
and I mean I heard that as a sort of a laden issue. I wonder if you've got a position on that issue.
I would say I have a personal position
Well,
on it.
let's
and
start with
I'll
that.
start with that.
What's your
and
personal
say my personal
position?
position is, it depends on your objective. My personal position is we don't need it. We don't need it because it isn't necessary if you actually take on what we know is needed with regards to storage and demand response inverters and so forth with regards to having smart grid technologies and automating as much as is possible what our grid can be, what our future grid can be. Is it absolutely necessary that we have this bridge? And that's what it's being dubbed as, is a bridge. My question is, how long is that bridge? Is it a short bridge? Is it a long bridge? Is that bridge going to go on for decades to come because no one put an end date to it? Those are some of my questions with it. Am I opposed to it? I don't know that I'm 100% opposed to it if it is given a small, short bridge, understanding that our goal is to become energy secure. And liquid natural gas is not energy secure. It's clean energy, cleaner energy, but it's still a fossil fuel. And it is still something that eventually, one of these days, we will have gone through all of the resources of. So it's not renewable.
So what about the caucus and your Energy and Climate Change Committee? Have they discussed this? Is there an opinion forthcoming on this issue from them?
We are discussing it, and we are going through all of the conversations to have it and the votes on what it is and so forth. So it's definitely one of the issues that we're having a conversation with, and whether or not the caucus comes out in support or against, or in what the position is going to be is something that is to be determined as far as what the party's position is as well. But my position is really one more of questions about it, whether it's really needed.
Okay, but let me move on to the last part of our discussion, for which we have about 7 or 8 minutes, I'm sorry, but it's really important. Now, you formulated the question, which is the title of the show, can we grow a sustainable clean energy economy, clean energy industry in Hawaii? And the wonderful thing about that question is it doesn't assume that we can. In fact, it seems to imply that there's a possibility we can't. So Carl, what is your answer to the question? Can we grow a sustainable clean energy industry in Hawaii?
Very good question. What
I thought so.
What I'll say is, if you haven't found out by now, I don't really answer questions with like one simple answer.
That's very biblical.
I like to talk. I like to talk, apparently. I've been told that, so that's fine.
This is why you're a good guest.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. First of all, we have had a very robust and thriving industry for several years, since before I got here in 2008, and certainly including 2008. We've had a very robust and thriving industry. So it's already there. It's really a question of, well, as we are transitioning with this utility and with the utility interests and concerns going forward, what is it going to mean and what has it meant? As of this, it's been 1 year now since the utility changed their rules, and as a result of their rule change, the renewable energy industry has been in some ways decimated. A lot of people have lost jobs and a lot of work has not been done. A lot of installations have been delayed for an extended period of time, and in some cases to physical detriment of some people.
Physical detriment? They get beat up?
No. There's specifically a case, and it's part of testimony of the Grid Modernization Bill, and I'll refer you to that to find the testimony on it. But it's definitely something that is relevant. Their changes have put delays and have put a hold on installations. And that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable because of what it is doing to the people. And that's where we thank the PUC for coming out and saying, it's about time you give us these changes. We gave you some leeway, you didn't take it, now do something. So that's what we're waiting for, the 26th again. Getting back to your question, we are now trying to recover as an industry from the past year of slowdown. Going forward, if we have the right mechanisms in place, if we have the right direction and the right decisions being made, maybe the correct decisions being made to get us down the path so that where we're headed is 100% renewable. If we are actually going to achieve that, then yes, we have years to come of a very thriving, sustainable industry. But what I'll put at the end of that is there is an end to that, because we are islands and we are far away from every other island chain, as we know. So therefore, we have a carrying capacity as far as what our energy demand
Nirvana
is.
Day.
Yeah.
You get there and you have a party, pop some champagne.
And hey,
And
we've
that's it,
achieved
all
it,
finished.
and great. Now what it becomes is the management, the operations and maintenance of what is there. And then, so therefore, we will never lose all of the industry, but eventually down the road, hopefully 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road, when we have finally achieved the maximum possible renewable energy penetration, then at that point is when obviously we decrease. But we still must maintain the relevant knowledge to go back to all of the systems that have been installed over the past 5 years or so to maintain their operation going forward. And then for people, when systems, because the systems have a lifespan themselves. So in 20 years, a lot of these systems will need to be replaced based on functionality, or based on, hey, there's a better system. I can actually, for half
Okay,
the
but
cost of this.
Let's go to the question, though.
Sure.
I mean, can we grow this industry?
Yes.
I mean, first of all, I guess I should ask, why do you think we can't? We've had a pretty interesting experience. We've done remarkable things. We have an enormous amount of, relative to what we thought we'd have, enormous amount of PV and wind and
Right.
what have you. And we have lots of prospects, that maybe haven't been fully realized. But
Yeah.
so the question is, is there really an issue that ultimately we will have a sustainable clean energy industry?
I don't believe there is. The limiting factor is the transition that the utility is going to take, and how much the utility is going to be able to, and I'm not putting this as a blame on them. What I'm putting on is the grid in the condition it is right now, and the grid in the condition that it needs to be, is what needs to be going through a transition.
So this is all about interconnect and smart grid.
It's all about interconnecting and the smart grid.
Okay, so I mean, and would you say that we're stuck now? I mean, because since those changes back a year ago you mentioned, I mean, it's softened a little bit, and there have been some improvements in the whole interconnection problem. At the same time, I mean, I talk to Marco Mangelsdorf on a regular basis,
Yep.
and
I like
he
Marco.
gives me stats on, and we'll talk to him again soon. But I mean, it's not just the interconnect issue that makes this drive down. It's a lot of factors in there, and
Yes.
even if you fix the interconnect issue right now, today, for that matter, if you fix the smart grid, which is, I think, more difficult still, but they're related, of course.
All related.
Even if you fix those identified issues, you'd still have a decline, or at least a likelihood of decline in the next few years, simply because not everybody is a first adopter, and not everybody lives in a neighborhood where he feels he can have, an efficient installation. He may not have talked to you, for example.
Marco?
No, the people.
Oh, the people. Oh, yes.
The people who, are maybe less confident that it would serve them well in their homes.
Well, absolutely. And I think that to a certain extent, it comes down to a few things. Not everyone can afford it. So that's why we have third-party financing. And one of the issues to talk about there is, where's the financing coming from?
Overseas, on the mainland.
It's coming from
some very smart guys.
Off island.
Very
is where
smart
it's coming
guys,
from.
well-heeled.
Exactly.
And we don't have time. In fact, we're almost done. Maybe you'll have to come back, Carl, because one of these
very happy.
days you and I have to compare notes on gems.
Ah, sure.
GEMS, the
right.
alternative to
That's
all
right.
of that. And GEMS, a creation, if you will, of the Abercrombie administration. Remember them?
Yeah.
You know, what happens now with GEMS?
Sure. Absolutely.
Wow. God, I wish we didn't have to stop, honestly.
Another day, anytime.
You want to make a closing statement? Go tell them what you want to leave them with.
Wow. Okay. What I say is yes, we can get back to a thriving industry. We're getting closer to it. There are companies that are starting to come back to life as well, and I'm very encouraged by that. We have some changes coming up. We have some direction given, I believe, by the PUC. And all of that is positive. In addition to that, we understand, and I think this is something that Jay was alluding to, is there are some slowdowns that exist as well within the permitting process as well. And that's another one of the areas that needs to be looked at, how we can help that. Is it a matter of there needing to be more resources for that? If so, where do we find those resources? And that's another area to look at to make sure that more can be accomplished. So those are the areas in that regard to look at. And certainly, with regards to Kamaka Green, I will always say, if you have a question about your contract, if you have a question about what to do with a PV system or no PV system, how to proceed, how to understand.
Give me your website, because we got to close.
Sure. Okay. You can reach us at kamakagreen.com. You can call me 383-7699 to have any conversation you want about it, and we're more than willing to help you through any process that you've got. So,
Okay,
thank you.
Carl
Thank you, Jay.
Campagna. And if you didn't hear it, it's Kamaka Green, namely it's Energy and Construction Group for Kamaka Green Consulting Services. And it's also the Environmental Caucus of the Democratic Party. Thank you, Carl. It's
Thank
been
you.
great. We have to follow
Absolutely.
up. There's so much more to discuss.
Absolutely
We
there.
haven't even scratched the surface.
So true.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. We have Carlos Suarez back from Budapest, and you'll see what he can tell us. Aloha.